Yo, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy John, aka Speros here. In today's YouTube video, we're going to be going over the LMG class in Modern Warfare 2, basically ranking all of the weapons, giving you guys some meta builds to go ahead and use, and also pretty much discussing how this is arguably the best set of weapons in the entire game. It's kind of confusing that LMGs are the best, especially when you consider the fact that almost nobody is using them. If you are using LMGs currently, you are far ahead of the curve, because I think in the coming days, you're going to see pretty much every lobby being dominated by them because they are just that dominant. Before we get into all of that, if you guys haven't already dropped a like, I'd appreciate that. Subscribe if you guys are brand new around here. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the data. So I went ahead and went over this website called sim.gg. This website has all of the weapon information that you guys would need. I went ahead and plugged this into a spreadsheet that I made, and I came up with this graph. As you can see here, this graph is set up like a normal TTK graph. You have the milliseconds on the side and then the range in meters. And then each of these lines are the TTK over that certain distance. So this is where it really becomes apparent that LMGs are grossly overpowered. And one in particular is insanely broken. I'm talking, it is a 2-shot kill. As you can see, it has a 108 millisecond TTK. That is the RAAL LMG, and it is not that slow. It's definitely not the fastest, but this game's already kind of pre-aim heavy and a little bit slower played. So 108 millisecond TTK is significantly faster than any of the other LMGs and all of the other assault rifles, SMGs. Pretty much everything in the game does not even come close to comparing to how good the RAAL is. The next closest competitor in the LMG category is going to be the 5.56 Icarus. It is kind of the M4 variant LMG, and that is pretty good up until about that 25-meter mark. And then you have a pretty steep drop off where it kind of comes in line with a lot of the other LMGs in this category. To go ahead and put some more perspective on this and kind of show you guys what I'm talking about, I made a RAAL, or the RAAL LMG, versus popular AR. So we have the TAC 56, which is going to be your SCAR. We have the M4, and then the cast-off 7.62, which is the AK. These are kind of the three go-to most powerful ARs that people are using at this exact moment. So the TAC 56 is going to be performing the best, coming in at around 188 millisecond TTK here. And as you can see, the RAAL LMG is just leagues and leagues above the best TTK AR. So getting into the setup for this absolutely insane weapon, this is the RAAL LMG. I do not have it currently leveled up in multiplayer, but I did do some testing in private match. You guys probably saw some of that gameplay earlier where I was just killing bots. But this is the setup that I would recommend that you guys go ahead and use. For the muzzle, I'm using the Nil Sound 90 because it doesn't really benefit the gun at all, and it also doesn't impact it negatively, which is something that you want to keep in mind when you're going ahead and building out these classes. The things that don't have any negatives attached are definitely going to be the ones that you're going to want to gravitate towards in terms of attachment. Moving on to the demo narrow grip, this is the underbarrel that I'd recommend. Obviously, all of the underbarrels have some negatives attached to them, but the demo narrow grip does not hurt the ADS, which is what we're trying to protect at all costs, while it's also offering recoil stabilization. Moving on, I do not recommend putting on a barrel strictly because it's a 2-shot kill up until 42 meters, which is pretty much all of your gunfights. So a barrel is not needed. If you are struggling with the recoil control, the barrel could be a great option for you, but obviously you're going to hurt your damage range, movement speed, and hip fire accuracy. This barrel does not hurt ADS, so I would recommend using this one over the other two, which do hurt ADS. But for me, I didn't really need it. I want to keep the movement speed up a little bit so I can still compete with ARs. Moving on to the laser, this again is going to be the aim down sights, aim stability, and sprint to fire. This laser is visible to enemies, so for respawn game modes, I recommend using this. For S&D, probably not, strictly because your laser is going to be visible to enemies. Obviously, if that is the case, if you're playing S&D, go ahead and switch over to the PEQ box IV. I know that's Roman numerals, but needless to say, this one does not have the laser coming out. It's not visible to enemies. Moving on, you can use an optic. I try to stay away from optics, but I realized a lot of people do like using optics, so I went ahead and used it on this setup. If it was me, I would not be using this optic. I would go ahead and replace the optic with a rear grip, specifically the Bruin Q900 grip wrap, because it gives you that aim down sight speed and the sprint to fire, although it does hurt your recoil control. And then moving on to the stock, I'm using the FSS Riot stock. It's got crouch movement, sprint to fire, and ADS. It does hurt recoil control, but the recoil control is a blessing and a curse on this weapon because the recoil is very vertical. The very first few couple shots really jump the sights a lot, which in a lot of cases result in a chest shot into a headshot. So you're almost guaranteed that 2-shot kill over any range at that point. So moving on to another weapon here, we have the Sakin MG38. which, if you guys don't remember, is this teal line here. Still coming in under 200 milliseconds, so still very good. And the damage drop off is right around 60 meters. So you're not really going to have any damage drop off at all. It's going to be very consistent over pretty much every range that you're going to be engaging in. So getting into the setup I recommend for this, I'm using the Sakin side grip underbarrel. Again, the common theme of not putting an attachment on that has many cons to it. I am using, again, the laser that is visible to enemies, but I believe this gives us the most pros. Again, respawn, go ahead and use it. If you're playing S&D, take the laser off, swap it out for one that's not visible to enemies. Again, I threw an optic on. You could swap out the optic. However, on this, there really isn't anything to swap it with, just because you don't want to use anything on the muzzle, don't want to use anything on the barrel. So I'm using the optic on this. I'm using the Cheetah STM stock. This helps with the ADS and the sprint to fire. And then again, with the grip, I'm using something that helps with sprint to fire and ADS. I think by now you guys should be picking up on the common theme about kind of what I'm looking for per each attachment slot. That's how I like to build out the majority of my weapons, but specifically for the LMGs, to keep them competitive with all the ARs and SMGs and stuff like that, you want to make them kind of faster, and you know, you can miss a few more bullets only because you have such big magazines to work with. So moving on to the HCR 56. This one is absolutely crazy, coming in at around 160 millisecond TTK up until right around 27 meters, and then it drops off pretty drastically up to one of the worst TTKs right around 250 milliseconds. And the attachments that they allow you to put on this weapon reflect the fact that it is meant for closer quarters in that LMG category. So you can kind of use this as an AR, which is what I recommend you guys go ahead and do. And they actually allow you to do that by changing out the heavy magazine that is typically on it and going ahead and throwing on a 42 round or a 30 round magazine, which allows you to use this as an AUG AR with a better TTK than the AUG AR that's already in the game, which is pretty crazy. So going ahead into this class setup, I am using a barrel on this for that ADS, the movement, and all of that. This does hurt the bullet velocity, recoil control, damage range, and hip fire accuracy. But again, this one is truly being used in that specific under 30 meters, using it as an AR. So this is an AR conversion essentially. So on the theme of my ARs, same as I build out my LMGs, I'm using a grip that doesn't have any cons attached to it, and it just has aiming idle stability. Moving on, I did throw an optic on this to precision sight picture. If I did not use a sight, if I was building this out for myself, I would definitely take the sight off and go ahead and throw on the stock. That helps with ADS and sprint to fire. Obviously, you could go ahead and use this one if you're having trouble with recoil. If you don't mind losing a little bit of recoil control, go ahead and use the Bruin MX9 stock. And then going into the comb, I am using the FTAC C11 riser because, again, this helps with the sprint to fire and the ADS. All right, that pretty much wraps up this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed. I hope that you learned something. Hopefully, I don't run into too many of you guys in the lobby using the RAAL LMG, because if I get two-shotted, I'll probably end up blowing a gasket or something. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to drop a like. If you guys want to see more videos like this, I have a lot more of these in the works, so make sure that you guys are subscribed with the notifications set to all so that way you don't miss any future videos. And as always, guys, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.